Welcome to another episode of Bite-Sized Strategic Portfolio Management. Our topic in this session is going to be capacity management. This one's lots of fun to talk about and not fun to work on. Lots of organizations have done varying things to try to solve for it, largely in spreadsheets and building out their own custom calendars. Most customers we talk to are not working with something robust yet, and anything is an improvement, so working with the Tempo SPM solution is a great improvement. Some of the pain points that they're often trying to solve for is that the team's capacity is pulled by different business unit priorities. You could have product teams in multiple silos of the business that are relying on the same back-end developers or infrastructure teams. And a lot of times, whoever screams the loudest wins. The interconnectivity that's allowed by Tempo's SPM solution gives better visibility into who has what time available and when, and that allows for priorities to be set on different business initiatives and for expectations to be available on when things can be done realistically. From a Tempo module perspective, the conversation here will largely revolve around Structure Gantt and Planner. We'll hint at some elements of Roadmonk and how it impacts that. And we'll try to put a nice little bow on it at the end. Organizations will usually start planning at the team level. If you're familiar with Scaled Agile, the most simple way to describe it is you want to plan your work and iterate on it as you get into higher and higher levels of granularity. So you don't want to start out writing down every single detail of every single feature. Generally, organizations will start out with initiatives and maybe epics underneath them if they're Scaled Agile, or it could just be a series of tasks if they're not Scaled Agile. And then they'll do what's called t-shirt sizing, so a rough estimate of the work that's involved in an effort. And then that gets turned into a more specific amount of time as they get closer and closer and rolling out what the work involved is. So if we're looking at a team level planning, the way we can do that now is with team level planning by epics inside of Planner. And what you see here is different teams inside of Tempo Planner that have members assigned to them, different work schedules assigned to them. So you could have a part-time employee or a team lead that spends some time working on individual contributor work and other time just in meetings. So we want to have a limited capacity for them. All of that in the background allows for us to see the capacity and know what our estimates will look like based on what's estimated in our epics here. So we can see for Beethoven and Q1, they are nicely slotted, and designers is underutilized, so they don't have enough work in Q1, but they're overworked in Q2 and Q3. So we can pretty easily drag and drop inside of here to rearrange things and get a good picture of what should happen over time. Key takeaways from a value proposition there are that you can have teams with schedules that align to their work, especially if you're talking to an international organization. You may have groups of teams that have to work different hours than others. Some countries have stricter regulations about the maximum number of hours that can be worked, number of hours in a day. So setting all of that in the background is all tied into this capacity management and allowing for us to predict what our output will be once we know what the work will take. As we dig into the details, we'll then see what capacity individuals have and what work needs to be done on a certain timeline. So that same work in the background, that same calendar schedule of planned work and time off and existing plans for work that's going to be scheduled in the future, all tied to individuals, will impact what we see inside of our Gantt visualization here. So we can know quickly when we've got people overutilized, underutilized, or set just right. Mentioned that Roadmonk would come into the picture here, but we're not going to actually see it. So when you're tying your Roadmonk to structure integration, so connecting that strategic layer to the execution layer, an important piece is the strategic layer is generally going to have work from more than one department, more than one business unit. They could all be tied together. And then when you're representing the work and prioritizing it, you can see what work has been tied to what initiative. In our view here, we just have it by individual. I'll show you in a second by a roadmap item. So we're now looking at a RoadMonk integrated structure. It's grouped together by roadmap item. So the work that was set at that strategic layer is tied to the work that's being executed on here. And then from a capacity management standpoint, we can see that Christina, for example, if we filter on her, we can see that Christina is overscheduled, far over capacity for a period of time here. Nothing here, and then underscheduled here. And now we've got our work filtered on the top so we can see the work that she's doing across initiatives and across departments. Something that we're looking at is how to incorporate team-based resources in there. So something that we want everybody that's going through this exercise and learning here to keep an ear out for with customers is how they would like to see that team-based capacity inside of their portfolio level view and how they would want that to filter. So we'll recap on the key value propositions. Some of it ties back to the flexibility that we offer already, and we've talked about in some other sessions here. So the flexibility of representing work across departments, also tying into roadmap items, allowing the initiatives for the different business units, the different themes that they've got, and the work that needs to be done can then be prioritized against each other. And we can also take the work that's planned by people, knowing what vacation they've got coming up, knowing what their work schedules are, if they're a part-time employee, if they're a team lead who doesn't work full-time on individual contribution work, all of that is available so that when we're planning, we know what resources are available, we know what time people have available to them and what they can contribute towards various projects.